Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Cone Racing League Season number 8, Tier number 4, Round number 4. I'm your host, CRC IV S8 back once again in the comms booth. But my little partner in crime, Mr. QRT Leroy, is not here. And for this very special sprint race, I had to get a very special guest in to help me in the comms booth. It is the one, the only, Mr. Real DC, aka, I nearly stumbled on my words there already, Dan. How you doing tonight, mate?
It's that one glass of Red you've had already, Scott.
I'm not even a glass down.
Thanks very much for having me. I'm buzzing. We got rain in the one-shot quali as well, so that's going to throw a few spanners in the works. But yeah, buzzing to be here. I don't usually come out of the woodwork too much, so.
You do it every now and again. You're sort of the guest of the guest commentator, I would almost say. We sometimes get you out, but yeah, one shot quali here tonight in France. Of course, round 4 is the sprint race. Instead of the usual 18-minute qualifying session, it is simply a one-lap shootout. You have one lap, and that is it. You invalidate, you mess it up, you spin. It is no bueno for you. And a few drivers already disqualifying. Mighty Atom, I do know, is due to a qualifying ban. We're on board then with SUFC, who is actually our championship leader now. 58 points. You might have been saying, well, Deluxe's won quite a few and always been up there near the top. He has had his little promotion and is away to Tier 3 tonight, so SUFC in the Alfa Romeo is our new championship leader. After this one shot then, we have 9 laps here around France in a sprint format. No pitting required, and then the full event of 27 laps around the beautiful, beautiful La Castellette circuit in France, Dan. I hope you're as excited as I am.
Absolutely right. Yeah, I'm buzzing. Deluxe, as you mentioned, has gone up, but as you can see from the top of those timing boards, the Aston Martin boys still aren't messing around. Spider Rob up there, which is what we like to see, and the reserve of that Roland currently in the lead. But yeah, as you said, SUFC top of the leaderboard now. P3 is a very strong position to be in, especially leading up to the first corner.
Absolutely, and the sprint race always throws up a few little twists and turns here. 1:46 is the pole time. Half a second clear Dat Roland, the reserve, in filling that vacant Deluxe seat. Of course, a full time will be allocated soon. The top 3, though, looking mighty quick in advance, but maybe do we have a drier race coming, some of them opting for a different strategy? Maybe just a few make mistakes, who knows? Murphy is definitely one that's made a mistake. He's down there quite a little bit, but quick qualifying this week. It's qualifying's normally my favourite part, Dan. I get to ramble on for 18 minutes and just look confused and baffled, but none of that this week.
You're not in your element here. It's gone just like that. But
it's a bit like my race. It's just over in about 2 seconds, and that's it. Dat Roland
like everyone's races in Monaco, I think.
I don't want to talk about it. I made it 4 corners. Dat Roland then, the reserve in the Aston Martin, takes top spot in the sprint qualifying tonight. Spider Rob in the sister Aston Martin takes P2. Then it's the 2 Alfa Romeos, 2 very strong teams it seems, particularly around this circuit. Curley, he's been on the podium this time once already this season in P5. Scooter Clem, a rookie in the ranks in P6. Marshall, AFL Topher, Wiban rounding off the top 10. Trunders, Ghost Angel 1, DS Baker, BX37 Pro, Mark Wilson, Victor Mean, Maverick and Murphy, the last of the time setters. Mean Man Moody disqualifying 4 track limits, and the Atomic in his first race this season as a full-time driver coming up with a quali ban. And Ben, BX37 Pro, has done amazing there, because I don't know where he's qualified somewhere in the mid-pack, and it wasn't even him. Up, and he's gone again.
Yeah, absolutely. But it seems he's having technical issues. Fantastic stuff. I don't know if that's just him following BX37 Pro ways and just not turning up, or I don't know. But we'll carry on. We can see the sun's come out for the for the sprint race. This being sprint race and feature race. We don't know the weather yet for the next one, but yeah, nice and sunny for the first race, Scott.
Absolutely 9 laps of beautiful French sunshine here at the Circuit of Paul Ricard. Of course, France, a great nation of motor racing history. The Grand Prix of France, or the French Grand Prix, you would say, has been held 90 times. Quite an astonishing feat. First held all the way back in 1906. Of course, well before the introduction of the official F1 series in the 1950s. And the first ever motor race, Dan, it was actually held in France. And wait to hear, this is a builder, I think. The first competitive motor race, it was the Paris to Rouen horseless carriage contest. So technically, we're not car racing here tonight, or motor racing. We are horseless carriage contesting here tonight, and it was
That's fine.
held
We
in
can call it that all night, Scott.
it has a certain ring to it. It was held in July of 1894, just about the year Murphy was kicking about, just round about then, I imagine. And it was all steam powered cars and took an amazing 7 hours to complete. A little bit quicker here tonight, of course. The technology ramped up over the last 140 so years, but just shows how much history there's steeped around this land of baguettes, wine, and blue, red, and white lines.
You're right, yeah. Murphy's not going to let you forget that comment, though. We know he watches the stream back minute by minute, so we'll be hearing that. I am informed by some of the paddock that there wasn't enough time for the setup for the majority of them. Some people got the wrong setups on. That Roland, who qualified pole, didn't even have a setup. So I'm not sure how the race is going to go, because you've got people just unbalanced or whatever. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm not too sure what it does, because I know certain tracks like Austria, it automatically defaults you to, I think it is like max top speed, which is like 18 wings.
Interesting. Which, I mean, if you do have that, and what somebody in the comments says is true, rain at the end, you're in for a bit of a long race, I think.
It could be, yeah, it could be very interesting. A few of them getting caught out then. Sprint race then. 9 laps here. Everybody on the mediums, we know they can go for fun. Topher though, on the Ferrari P9, opting for the softs. Now, it's a stretch, but safety cars could happen. I mean, it's maybe not the quickest strategy to do a one-stop in the sprint race, but if you get the extra pace in the softs, move up positions, a safety car comes out for a few laps and you can tyre save, well, it might just work out for him. His sister Ferrari starting the row in front. There's quite a lot of 2x2 in the top half of the pack here, Dan. Two Aston Martins, 2 Alfa Romeos, and the 2 Ferraris relatively close together. But the rest of the pack, a nice, good mix.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how they get on. I know Spider Rob is quite a good team player. He's saying it in the chat every time. Is he going to defend and let his fellow AM get away, or is he going to go for the win himself?
It'll be interesting, of course. That Roland, just a reserve. Spider Rob will be looking to try and maybe stake a claim in the Drivers' Championship, but sometimes it's better to come P2 than to battle out for P1, and we've seen it all go disastrously. We've seen collisions around here before, Dan. We've seen disasters, into the wall, safety cars galore. And if I mind right, the last time we raced here, even me and you managed to come together. But that all
we don't think of that.
that all aside, it is going to be 5 red lights for the first time this evening, and a few of the drivers getting caught out with the jump starts.
Interesting. I'll watch the midfield.
Down to turn 1 then. Tomo Tip Top getting a fantastic start from
P4
up to
already.
P2. Both Ferraris round by the looks of things. P7 and P9 down to P19 and P20. The front of the pack getting away very, very nicely. Spider Rob losing out 2 positions away. Mercedes of Victor Mean losing it on the inside of Hotel turn number 3. And a few little squabbles further down the pack, though. The 2 Alfa Romeos shaping up moves on each other. Tomo Tip Top got a right almighty launch off the line up to P2. SUFC jumping from P4 up to P3. Spider Rob losing out as a result of 2 of them, as SUFC has a look down his inside of his teammate into the do-well chicane, but can't get the move done. The rest of the pack seem to be relatively alright, and as I say, that yellow flags are out once again for Topher.
Yeah, that's the do-well chicane again. It looks like it is both the Ferraris again being caught up in an incident. Victor Mean just in front of them, so was there potentially a collision? The stewards, I'm sure, will see if there was. Murphy, even with his drive-through, he's gone up 6 positions already, so he's the biggest gainer on the first lap. Wuban up 5, and I think there's another spinning car. Can you see who it was?
SUFC, our P3, our championship leader, having a spin. On the exit of turn number 12, I'm not going to try and pronounce how that's done. They've got a pit entry there from, I believe,
yeah, there was
the
a bit
Maverick.
of a suspect one.
Of course, pit entry
Mighty
being
Atom
monitored here.
going into the pits. Yeah, a big thing we mentioned before the race. It is interesting. It's a tough one to get right, but you absolutely have to on an open, flowy track like this. You have to make the intentions clear. Or it's just going to cause problems.
Absolutely, it can cause pandemonium. We've seen it before. We'll see it again. Battle on track lane for P5 between Trunders and Scooter Claim. Trunders a more experienced driver. Scooter Claim in his first season. Both starting to show signs of pace throughout the first few races and showing it definitely here tonight. Another spin though. It's DS Baker, the other rookie Welshman in the Haas. He's had a little bit of spin on the exit of turn 7 down into the Mistral chicane. And Spider Rob already 2 laps in, 1.5 lap in, Dan. 3-second time penalty.
Yeah, saw him take a little bit too much of the dual chicane in the first lap, potentially both corners, so that's not going to help him out. And it's just, yeah, you've then got the whole race. And even though it's only 9 laps long, to then be careful. So I don't know if he maybe just went, well, fuck it, pardon my language. Who'd
have guessed? Sorry, I've been commentating for over 2 seasons now. I've managed to get away with never swearing, and the one time I have a head admin in the chat with me.
No, mate, it's what it is. I'm sure there's been one here before.
Sorry to jump in. Spider Rob looked for a move into the final corner, turn 15 on Tomo Tip Top, and the space just didn't come together. I don't know if it was an early turning or if the move was quite not on, judging by the camera angle. It'll be a 50-50 on that one. But collisions already at the front, and this is doing wonders for Dart Roland's gap. He's stretched out to 3.5 seconds. He could be another that's maybe heading to tier 3 very, very soon.
Please stop taking the fast Aston Martin drivers away. I can't deal with another season of it. We started it well.
As soon as they show pace, they get promoted. Yeah, Deluxe moving up. A few reserves moving up as well. ID Shu, we've seen him last week comfortably leading the pack until a few spins in Monaco. He is jumped up for definite. I don't know what tier, because I think his qualifying pace would have put him like P4 in tier 2 as well. So
yeah, I think we did have a look at it. As you know, being another head admin now. There is a spin. Is that a complete spin? I think it might be the Maverick.
Yeah, I think it's the Maverick and Murphy having a spin as well on the exit of turn 7. The Mistral straight. His teammate AFL going very wide, trying to get around about the outside of the Red Bull of Curly into turn number 11. I'm just referencing the numbers a lot here tonight, folks, because my French is not very good. And there's a few suspect corner names here, particularly turn number 12. It's spelt Vendor, and I don't want to say that the wrong way.
Yeah, that's probably a good way to go, especially after the F-bomb I've just dropped. We don't want the stream to be taken down. If there's fines to pay, I'll pay the fines. Who cares?
I hear we've got a man for paying fines after recently. He's been getting a few yellow flags. He's in tier 3 tonight, in fact, but he picked up a £12 fine for gross misconduct at under 11s
again,
game.
It's cheap. If it was £12 here, I'd be splashing it everywhere, you know.
Oh, absolutely. But I don't think Nathan and Jacob are quite as cheap with the fines. They have Scooter Claim getting a little bit loose there on the exit of turn number 5. That's invited pressure on from Curly. And in fact, AFL as well. He's going to try and cut back to the left-hand side, getting the slipstream. DRS for the two of these now, and the Red Bull could be in danger here, Dan, on the run down to the famous Do Well Chicken. The only corner in CRL named after a driver.
Three wide. Yeah, no, you're right. It is purely just honouring a legend of the league. You know, Do-Will been here for quite a few seasons now. Well earned. When's there going to be a DC corner though? Who knows?
Oh, I'm sure we'll find one. We'll see. We'll see which one you take a funny run at this season. Of course, we do have the turn. A couple of unofficial corners. The turn left. I think it likes to be kind of sometimes referred to, or the Jeroen corner at Spa, where he turned left at a right-hand corner. And then there's I'll say the PG version, the Swallow Gum version, named after my good friend Jamie Robertson. No longer races here at turn 4 at Hungary, where he famously laughed so hard that he swallowed gum and said a little little bit of a rant afterwards, shall we say. It became a little bit of an iconic moment for who was there. Spider Rob losing out another position then to Trundles. Trundles all the way up to P4. He's having good pace, good solid pace through this sprint race. Spider Rob running a little bit wide as well, maybe picking up another warning. Of course, all that will get reset in 5 laps time at the end of this race. SUFC then, he's on his recovery mission, absolutely smashing the braking board into turn number 3 there. Polystyrene going absolutely everywhere as Murphy has chosen to retire in the pits.
That's going to be a punishment, I'm afraid. The new rules are in now, I think, isn't there? It is a case of the brake boards, but I'm sure we can take a look at it a bit closer when we need to. But you're absolutely right. He's recovering from that spin. He just managed to get the move done on Curly, and he's right on Scooter Clem's rib. And speaking of, Curly was facing the wrong way.
Curly's racing line getting a little bit curly there and doubling back on himself. He's now at fret to Ghost Angel 1 and Marshall. Of course, the hot tyres from that spin not going to be doing him any favours whatsoever. 2 Ferraris, another couple of cars on recovery drives here. It seems to be a common theme around here. Pens and spins. It could be an interesting feature race. 27 laps, of course, 3 times the length of this sprint race. Ghost Angel 1 getting a little bit wide around the midpoint of turn 12, and he has got 2 cars hovering on his gearbox. Further up the field though, SUFC is right on the gearbox of that Alpine of Scooter Claims. He is going to have the DRS assist, and you can see that red flashing light. That means Scooter Claims, has used up to 90% of his battery, only 10% left, or he's used his full allocation for a lap. But considering it's turn 1, I don't think that will have happened yet. Curly getting past Marshall further back, but the two of them seem to be pretty much side by side. Yes, they are. Marshall having a run out of the second corner. The two brothers going side by side through 3, and Curly making the move on the outside, cuts back and covers off the central line, gets the move done for now. But Marshall gonna have DRS further up. There's so many battles tonight, Dan. Trundles gets overtaken by Spider Rob on the lead up to the Do Well Chicken, of course, in the Mistral Straight.
Just overtaken Scooter Clem as well. They're everywhere.
Marshall and Curly once again going absolute battle. Curly going around the outside into the entry of Do Well Chicane, turns to the inside. The two of them still side by side. A beautiful angle from Topher, but the Ferrari just nipping ahead. Curly going to nip in behind, and now he's going to pull out to the right to try and have a long look down into turn number 10. Has to give up a little bit of the speed. He's still there on the inside into 11, but eventually has to cede the position. Runs a little bit wide as well with that compromised line. What a battle from the two brothers there.
Oh, yeah, I did forget they were brothers. I tell you what though, if my brother fought with that high with me, he'd be getting a slap.
There's definitely been a rivalry going on longer than Cohen existed in them two cars, I can tell you that. We've seen it ourselves from the Tier 1 brothers. It can get quite feisty at times. I'm sure you know all too well, Dan.
Yeah, no comment.
Spider Rob then.
Lose my job.
Spider Rob then on the rear of Wuban through the tight technical end of Sector 1. And he's got Trundles very, very tightly behind.
Yeah, so I was about to say there's another yellow flag, but I think that is just a retired car coming out of the pits.
I believe it might be
Batums coming out of the pits, yeah. There's more going into Sector 2, that's Ghost Angel 1. Facing the wrong way.
Having a little spin again, catching a lot of drivers out, and of course the setup issues might not help whatsoever. There's a little bit of a DRS strain though in the battle for P2 at the moment. Tomo Tip-Top in the Alfa Romeo leads away from Wuban, from Spider Rob, from Trundles. All 4 cars within 1.3 seconds of each other. 2 laps to go and a sector, I suppose, if we're being technical here. Dat Roland leading the way, 7.7. It's always a shame though when you win a race like this, because you never get any coverage of your amazing drive, but he is doing wonders out front for the Aston Martin. Of course, we haven't talked yet. Extra points available here in the sprint race. The top 6 getting championship points. 6 points for P1 and a single point for P6. So as that stands, AFL would pick up a single championship point. But 2 laps to go here in France. We've seen plenty of action. I'm sure we'll see a little bit more. And speaking as that's happening, BX37 Pro gets the move done on Topher 4P13. This, of course, does set the grid for the feature race, so although they are outside the points, every position could be key for setting up a big points finish later on in the afternoon. These three cars here of Wuban, Spider Rob and Trundles, nose to tail, coming through the end of the first sector. See if any of them can get a run on another one down to the Do-Well chicane. And in fact, it looks to be Trundles getting a look on Spider Rob. Wuban tucking in, sort of blocking in the Aston Martin there a little bit, just with the track position, and Trundles gets the move done, but things keeping nice and clean here. It is very, very tricky at times though to overtake through the DRS train, as it's known, and all four of these cars are very low in battery, not going to have much an advantage over each other.
Yeah, I think Trundles did the right thing there. As much as it's annoying for Spider Rob, who was trying to defend the position, Trundles, he positioned his car perfectly. Maybe a tiny bit of a squeeze, but it is just hard racing, and yeah, managed to make it pretty much impossible for the Aston Martin to defend that position.
It's been a common theme this season. It must be said. You know, normally I've commentated Tier 4 a couple of seasons now, and at the start of the season we get some new drivers in, or some drivers changing some assists, and maybe the little bit of racecraft just goes out the window. But this season, to start with, it's been very much fair. It's been hard at times, but it's been pretty much fair 99%
Oh, Trundles
of the
is
time.
round.
And
Sorry
just
to
as I was
interrupt, but Trundles for P4. It's that tricky turn one. If you get on that curve too much, accelerate too early, that's it. You're doing a 180.
It's a very technical first couple of corners, like you say. You've got that inside curb, and of course you need to take the right angle through it to carry the momentum, and then also it sets up your entry into turn 2, which, like you say, too much curb on the entry, or the sort of apex of the corner, you can end up spin round. Too much on the exit, you can spin round, and if you just don't quite get the angle right and you turn too sharp in the steering wheel, you can spin round. A very, very tricky first couple of corners. Marshall and the Ferrari, I believe, having a little bit of a moment down in P15 now, about to be 16.
Just bringing your attention to Moody. He just managed to get past Trundles as well. 12 positions he's gained. Unfortunately, it's not enough to earn that extra bonus point, but it's going to set him up quite well if he can keep this pace up for the feature race. Trundles just getting in front of him there, but I don't think he'll battle too hard because he knows that it's not a point scoring position. But starting at the back for that one, and now starting in P9.
Absolutely. Dat Rowland then takes victory in the sprint race. Tomo Tiptop, P2, putting it's Alfa Romeo nearly Tomo Tiptop of the podium. Wuban in P3, AFL P4, jumping Spider Rob with that 3-second time penalty. And Victor Mean picks up the last of the bonus sprint race points, taking P6. Scooter Clem, Trundles, Mean Man Moody and SUFC round off the top 10. Curley then in P11 over the line, drops to P12 with BX37 Pro jumping him again on a penalty decision. Topher crosses P13 and stays P13 ahead of Ghost Angel 1, DS Baker, IR Marshall, and Maverick will be the last of our finishers. Mighty Atom, Mark Wilson, CRL Murphy, your 3 DNFers. But we are only 1/4 of the way through the racing action here tonight, folks. 27 laps still await us, and it could be sunny, it could be rainy. All we know is it's bound to be based off that. Quite an interesting and busy race.
Yeah, lots of overtakes, especially on a track like this. You've got the two heavy DRS straights and then plenty of technical corners to try and outbrake your opponent. Yeah, lots of interesting racing. Hopefully it's as interesting in the future race.
Absolutely. It should really set us up for one. Ignore that sprint race pointing, that's the official, not the CRL point system, of course. F1 a little bit more gracious, shall we say, in the sprint race. CRL a little bit more gracious with the actual feature races when it comes to points allocation. But once again, Dat Rowland taking the top spot in the sprint race, sits his car in pole position for the feature race. Tomo Tiptop, Wuban, AFL, Spider Rob and Victor Mean, your top 6 collecting points into this next race. And a few big winners, a few big losers there, Dan. certainly is when you factor in the chance of an increased chance, shall we say, of safety cars with a longer race, more chance of mistakes, potential for mixed conditions. Although it's looking pretty dry to begin with, at least, it could be an absolute belter of a race. The fourth one in a row, hopefully, because we've had three pretty interesting, pretty good watching races.
Yeah, sorry, I zoned back in there. I was just reading some of the comments from a bit earlier. 15 people watching right now. Danielle, who is always here, nice to see her again. Spider Rob, even though he's racing, it looks like he's got the stream on in the background. Cold Paradox, Steiny is also here, saying he did say at the start of the race he was hoping to see you on track around Monaco for a little bit longer. And he's also said he's cheering for me in France, so we'll see how that works out.
We'll see. We'll see. I think he's maybe, should be cheering for me because I need it at the moment. But
as long as I don't get sandwiched in between two Red Bulls this time round, I think I'll be okay.
Well, all I'm going to say, he's probably not listening because I think he's otherwise occupied on a Monday night. But as long as a certain sponsor of the league doesn't stick it down our inside and make it 4 wide, I think they might be fine. Yeah, Steiny, of course, last week on the stream, saying that he asked me where I was for Brazil, saying he missed me. Didn't realise that I was in the race. I was just constantly at the back.
Wow.
That was a kick in the teeth. That one.
It's fine, Scott, because you were vibing eating lasagna. It's okay.
Oh yeah. Fun fact, folks: don't eat lasagna half an hour before your race and then lie down on the couch because you will fall asleep and you will nearly miss the start.
The newly named CRL Garfield.
Things that you love to see, but yeah, we'll speak less about the first few races from my perspective. It's been a few to forget.
No, here and now.
Exactly. The season starts now for myself, and I'm sure for a few other drivers, they'll be feeling the same way. 15 seconds then till we get our first look at our grid here for the feature race. We get a look at tyres, of course. Every car bar Topher using one set of their potentially allocated 2 mediums, so it could be a little interesting with the strategy. Of course, no chance of doing a double medium for most of those guys unless they want to go on pretty worn tyres. You might as well just go on softs at that point. So maybe an alternative strategy for Topher in the works here, depending, of course, on the safety cars and a track where they can be fairly common despite the massive runoff areas. There's a few key bits, particularly on the exit of turn 7, the start of the Mistral chicane. The Mistral straight, sorry. There is potential there for a little tweak off into the wall and subsequent safety car. BX37 Pro, Big Ben, is having an absolute nightmare tonight. Absolute nightmare on his Wi-Fi box.
That's it. Since he's got, is that a full-time seat for him again now?
Mm-hmm.
As soon as he gets one of those, that's it. Everything goes Pete Tong. So.
Full time as of last week, of course. He's been around about CRL for as long as I can remember. In fact, longer than I've been about. So that just shows you him and Murphy. I believe the 2 oldest runners, maybe Mean Moody and. Trying to think as well.
Okay. You mean old as in been here the longest?
Been here. Yeah, I know Ben's not one of the oldest.
You mentioned Murphy and old, so I just figured.
You took it. I was firing shots again.
Yeah.
No, I can only do Murphy once a week. It's an unwritten rule that. Tyres then for this race, Dan. Everybody on the hards, bar 5 are P1 and P2, Dat Roland and Tomo Tip Top, P7 and P8, Scooter Clem and Trunders, and P13 Topher. He started alternative on the sprint. He's starting alternative on the feature race. So the Ferrari big brain strategist coming through once again. Perhaps I really hope they do, just because I am in the Ferrari. But a nice little 3-to-1 ratio there. Hards to mediums. The mediums, of course, are going to enjoy greater speed, greater pace at this early part of the Grand Prix. But then once they switch into the hards, it's going to be a little bit harder for them. No pun intended. The heating of the tyres is a little bit more difficult, and of course the grip levels drop, so it is a sort of give and take for those, but safety cars could have a massive impact on this race. Dat Roland then coming through the final sector and just about ready to line up on this grid. I'm gonna ask this question this this season, because normally it's bad fortune, but, you know, head admin privilege, Dan. Who do you think is going to win this race? And I don't want you to say that, Roland. I want you to pick like an outsider.
Then I'm just going to stay silent, I think, 'cause that was my guess.
That is.
I do think you know, SUFC, he is fast. He is in the championship fight for a reason. Yes, he's starting P10, but he's doing the alternate strat to Dat Roland. He is going to be faster at the end of the race, safety car permitting. So I'm going to say him.
I'm going to throw my money on Trundos. He's had some good pace this season. He's shown a bit of pace in that sprint race there. If he can keep it mistake clean, he could be definitely a contender for the win. If not, potential podiums. But that all aside, 20 cars are now on the grid. Few DSQing and getting reset in their pit boxes. I can just about see the lights from this camera angle now, and it is going to be 5 red lights. And away we go for the French Grand Prix proper. Dat Roland pulls it right over to the right. And
what is he doing?
That has completely caught me off guard there. Well, Dat Roland then forfeiting his pole position, it seems, wanting to start from the back in the feature race. An interesting take is Victor Menis the first to catch the spinning bullet down into P18, just ahead of Ghost Angel 1 and Mighty Atom, who looked to maybe got caught up in something herself. Lots of action in the midfield here. BX37 Pro in a 4-way sandwich. DS Baker and Mark Wilson making a little bit of contact there on the exit of turn number 5, side by side on the lead up to the Mistral Skate. Look at this gaggle of cars down in the midfield. Murphy, Mean, Moody, Marshall on Co, all pretty close together. Murphy and Marshall going side by side down the straight into the Do Well Chicken, and Murphy comes out on top this time. I wonder if Dat Roland maybe just feeling his pace.
Really,
we see
BX37
Pro.
Me off a little bit.
Yeah, I've never seen this happen.
And I've just watched him cut the Do Well Chicane after a spin as well, so I'm not really sure what's happening here. And as an Aston Martin driver in the other tiers, it's upsetting me a little bit.
It's perplexing me. Maybe, you know, it's a bit arrogant. I don't want to say it to assume I won the sprint race by so much as it'll be easy. I want to start from the back, but if that's what he wants to do, I suppose fair play. But yeah, we'll maybe find out later on with that. Anyways, we'll concentrate on the race. Maybe Dat Roland wasn't a surefire hit to win the race, Dan. Maybe it could be one of our outsiders. And speaking of your one, he's up to P5. SUFC up from P9 to P5, or P10 it could have been even, on the hard tyres. He's managed to jump Scooter Claim and Trundles both on the medium, and the only medium runner in front of him is, of course, Tom Tip Top out in the lead. He'll be stretching that gap now, but that gap will swing back against him later on in the race, and this train forming all the way from P2 pretty much down to...
Murphy sideways.
I did see an orange speck fly sideways across the screen there, and I was praying it wasn't our man Murphy. He's a trier,
but
he's an absolute legend.
Yeah,
he puts in such effort
every week. Like every week, he's committed to the league. He's always here. He's just not getting his results, and it is upsetting. But are you seeing that? I think it might be BX Pro's internet. That wasn't ideal.
I did notice something earlier on with Mark Wilson, which I believe is why he's down there. It sort of looked... there was about, shall we say, half a car between them, and then they were just inside each other. It was interesting.
Yeah, I'm not I think it's just a desync, him coming in and out.
A little bit coming in and out. We've seen internet issues already as we see a concertina effect there. Scooter Claim making a little bit of contact with the rear of Trundos. Just all these cars so close together trying to go through these technical tight corners, just making a little bit of error prone, but this is what we love to see. Close, tight-knit racing. Lap 3 then begins. DRS now enabled here around the circuit of Paul Ricard. The first introduction of that will be down at the famous Mistral Straight to the even more famous Do Well Chicken. And prime position to take advantage, it will be Spider-Rob in P3. Of course, at the lead of the train. DRS trains, it's notorious for only 1 and 2 being able to overtake and make manoeuvres. He is not using too much of that battery either, just relying solely on the DRS, playing it pretty smart. Wuban burning a little bit, and look how much that DRS has caught him up. He makes a tiny little bit of contact there, keeps it pretty much going forward, and the train persists for now. Look to be a few moves further back. DS Baker and Marshall mixing it up. Mean Man Moody not too far behind there as well. And I've got to say once again, I've been praising these drivers for their race conduct, the way they've been battling on track. The pace differential as well, it's been brilliant. Normally, we've seen in past seasons the gap after a few laps stretching out to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seconds at times. There's been plenty of action, plenty of battles this season. This is the most competitive Tier 4 grid I've ever had the pleasure of racing in or commentating over, so it's another beautiful thing to watch. Sorry, I'm getting all soppy on you, Dan.
Sentimental, no, but you're absolutely right. You can see here P2 all the way down to P9, all within a second of each other, all battling. It's great to see.
Absolutely. Freeway battle then into turn 1. Mark Wilson, Trunders and Topher. Mark Wilson taking a little bit off the entry curve there and getting pushed out a little bit wide. Him and Trunders giving each other an inch and no more when it comes to respect. Respectful driving and Spider Rob into the wall in the exit of turn number 4. Front wing change will be needed for the Aston Martin crew, and it's not looking good for you, Dan.
Enough of those no, we had enough of those last week. We don't have it in the budget. We came to France with none remaining.
Interesting note though, you're the teammate, of course, Dat Roland, starting on pole, opting to drop down to 20th. He's into P9, and he's right on the rear of this train.
Yeah, now, right on the back of the train. He could be right back in there. Has he done it because he doesn't want to be moved up straight away?
I think if anything, it's Mark Wilson and Trundles make a little bit of contact there. It didn't look too much of anything sort of untoward or anything malicious. It looked like just a little bit of understeer from the Red Bull drifting out into the Williams. Answers on a postcard, that might not be the case, but that's what it appeared to be, and that's another big spin. I don't think there'll be too much in the way of damage, but Mark Wilson continuing his streak of being pacey and just having absolutely zero luck when it comes to taking the car the full distance. That rolling on the back of the train now, he'll be the next to try and make a move on Trunders. And I hate to tell him, if his idea was to not show his pace, I'll drop down to the back and make it look like I've had a bad result. I hate to tell you, mate, we're watching, we're seeing this. Do you want to race in Tier 2? Scooter Clem goes for a spin.
No, you're right though, we've got stewards' eyes everywhere. If we miss something, someone else will have seen it. It is just, there are no dark spots in this league. You can't get away with anything.
Oh, absolutely. If you think I'm bad for spotting things out, wait till you race with Jonathan watching you. It's absolute pandemonium. You're paranoid about everything you do. That man misses nothing. The battle then at the front now raging on. AFL up into P2 ahead of Wuban Moody, making a move on DS Baker for P9 in the sort of secondary train, you could call it. Marshall, the splitting car between the front and second trains, effectively, although the second train only had 2 gear 1.
Quick right-hander, don't know what turn number it is, but he's got the inside line. Will it stick? Both on the equal tyres. No, Trunders just stays ahead. And that rider's decided better of trying to make the move down the inside there, and they both live to fight another day.
Settle back in behind them with plenty of opportunities to try and make a move. SUFC was very close to the rear of Wuban there, getting very close through the minimum speed point of the corners as well, just carrying that little bit extra speed, but of course getting too close to the car in front, he's having to give up a little bit. Dat Roland, though, I'm going to jump back to this battle, he was very close to getting past Trunders burning through the energy though, as is Topher, just trying to hold position there. And speaking of Topher, he's had a little spin. Another one bites the dust at turn number 2, Dan.
It's a tricky one. If you get the traction even slightly wrong, you're in the wall. Not that there are many walls around here, but you can definitely find one. Yeah, it's a shame. You could see he had the pace. It was just one small mistake can cost you so many positions, as we can see. Wuban, believe SUFC got ahead of him on that straight into the dual chicane.
Yeah, he did. Wuban losing out with the DRS from SUFC, just managing to get past Trundles there. Not Trundles, sorry, Dat Roland going a little bit invisible there. The ghosting system kicking in, and they lost 3.3 seconds to the cars in front. So I wonder if there was some sort of collision between himself, Marshall, and maybe Trundles, just with such a large time loss. And
Oh, he's almost. Oh, I'm not sure if you caught that. He did almost lose it. Nice catch, but
in the words of your favourite driver, he was very loosey-goosey there, Dan.
yeah, loosey goosey is the right term for it. But just him makes me emotional. We don't speak to him at the moment.
We'll keep him at the back of our minds and
I'm
out
doing
of
it
our
for him
mouths.
this season.
For those that don't know, Dan is a massive Danny Rick fan, and yeah, not a great season, shall we say. So yeah, Dat Roland living on with that, keeping it loosey-goosey. And there is a few of the last late breakers here in this tier. I've seen on a few occasions, some of them not scared at all to just try a move, or maybe you shouldn't, or maybe you'd think that's not on, but they do it and they make it work, and it's a brilliant thing to see. Marshall then hooking back in onto the rear of Dat Roland. He's going to have the DRS assist as Baker has had a spin down, falling through the over. Torfer as well, I believe, has had a spin. He's managed to, by the looks of the map, keep it mostly out of the wall. I've seen a few cars have a race-ending crash at that corner before. Shout out to previously mentioned Jamie Robertson, all the way back in Season 5, telling me in the final lap he was going to overtake me with the DRS and then proceeded to put it in the wall.
Is he paying you, Scott? He's getting a lot of airtime tonight. Quite a few shout-outs. He's not here anymore.
He gets Scottish tax, you know.
Fair enough, right, okay,
that's why all I've been doing this race has just been watching at him, you know, Scottish tax.
Fair enough. Speaking of people that we've been watching, though, SUFC, my call to win it, up to P2. Yes, there's been a few spins along the way, but P2 on the hards is not an easy thing to do when you've got, 5-6 medium tyre drivers on the grid. And you can see he's starting. Closing in on tip top slowly. Is that the tyres going off, or is it just the consistency?
Well, the tyres will be starting to drift towards the hards with every lap that passes now. 8 laps, and Dat Roland picks up a 3-second time penalty for his worries. Back up to P5 though, but Alfa Romeo, the guys in, I believe, Tier 3 should be near enough done. And the Tier 2 and Tier 1 boys sitting watching at home, they'll be loving this. 24 points, for P2. 30 points for P1, and potentially a bonus point for the fastest lap if either one could grab them. We could see the full send in the feature race here. 55 points, which for an Alfa Romeo in P7 could be big gains. Of course, Aston Martin, all this complaining about you taking the quick drivers away from us, sit top of the pot. 276.52. No, 53, I can't do maths. Ahead of Alpine, or Alphine, as I like to call them. Haas, the other team I can't spell, in P3, 223 as well. Joint P2 and P3. Ferrari, Forza Ferrari, of course, Forza Cone, my team, in P4 ahead of Red Bull. Williams in P6 ahead of the previously mentioned Alfa Romeo. Mercedes, McLaren, and then Alpha Tauri, bringing up the rear. An interesting one as well, because they've got some strong teams throughout the grid. You know, you look at Ben, he's been around a while. Ghost Angel 1 has been an ever-improving driver for over the last few seasons. I know in Tier 1 they've got, I believe it is Nathan and Jeroen, a strong team. And Tier 2, if I'm right, it is called Paradox, and I feel bad, but I can't actually remember who the second Alpha Tauri is, but just not coming together. And I think that kind of encapsulates what league racing can be about. You can have all the pace and none of the luck, and it just doesn't go your way. And a few drivers on the sore end of that tonight already, with the spins and a few penalties creeping in. Dat Roland up to P5, however, with his penalty. Spider Rob, there's a bonus point for the Aston Martin as it stands, Dan. He was the first to pit. I never even noticed. I was waffling on for that long. I never noticed he jumped into the pits 4 laps ago for a set of mediums.
I think that was when he had his little bit of a spin. Go on those mediums, hope for because those mediums aren't going to go to the end. Just hope for a safety car, get yourself back in it. But he's put himself in a good position to close back up to the cars in front of him with the tyre advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. He can start to close up. Of course, he is going to have to make another pit stop, but he could potentially stretch those mediums out to the soft area. So when these guys are on old hards, he's in fresh mediums now. When they go into sort of newish to oldish mediums, he can go on a fresh set of softs and sort of kick on from there. So potential to regain his 11.5 seconds to the nearest car, but all it takes is a safety car to nullify that. Look at the pace difference though in Dat Roland compared to Luban. Just the DRS on the rear wing opening wide, a little bit of BRS on the slipstream, absolutely flying up. He's up into P4 at the moment. Battle for P8 raging on as well. Mean Moody, Mark Wilson, Maverick and Victor Mean, the 2 Mercedes, Red Bull and a Williams all scrapping it out. Curly not too far behind in the sister Red Bull as well. Could turn into a 5-way battle here down at the Mistral Straight. I nearly call it the Mistral Chicane. It's the Do-Well Chicane, not the Do-Well Straight. And the Mistral Straight, not the Mistral Chicane. Maybe that red wine's going to my head already, Dan.
I think that's been evident since the start, Scott, but that's fine. You just crack open another bottle, make this as entertaining as possible. You can see now that the tyres are definitely speaking for themselves. SUFC 1.4, 1.5 behind the mediums of Tomo Tip Top. You can see Trunders is dropping from Marshall. Dat Roland, he is still keeping up with AFL, but we have seen from the sprint race the pace that Roland has here. Is that potentially why? As AFL, those hards aren't going to be getting better themselves, but it's there's good battles everywhere. You can see Victor Mean 2/10 behind the Maverick, and just in front of him is Mean Man Moody.
Yeah, that's a battle I'm focused on at the moment. Just keeping an eye, giving a bit of lob down in the field. But yeah, we're definitely at the sort of stage where the mediums are going to die off a bit more in relative to the hards. Of course, the softer the compound, the easier it is to heat, the more grip they're in it, but they are less durable. And over the course of a life, the sort of average pace, it's obviously going to be in favour of the softer, but the average pace is going to be more persistent and more consistent, on the harder tyre. I like to do these little crofty things, Dan, you might have noticed, just in case for some reason we get some random person in that has never seen a motor race or a horseless carriage race in their life. Dat Roland getting the move done on AFL then for P3 as things stand. I'm not quite sure what the optimal pit stop time is. I haven't had a chance to really have a look myself. Good news for first day, I suppose. Good showing that. But I expect it'll be something soon. I think it is about lap 13 for the mediums.
Yeah, I think that's there or thereabouts. Yeah, just going into the comments. Steiny again at you, Scott. If you can't even say Alpine as an English speaking, how come you were doing comms? It's a good question. I mean, just for the laughs for them, and that's absolutely right. That's what we do it for, entertainment.
I'm just here to. Steiny. The only reason I'm here is because nobody else will be. Somebody had to take over your job. First of a pit stops in, Dat Roland and Trunders 10 laps. A little bit early to me, but I could be wrong. Maybe it's about right, 10 to 11 laps for the mediums. That would set you up for 16 to 17 laps for the hard. So those two in for a set of hard compound tyres for the rest of this race.
Roland's gone on to is those hards. We saw his pace on the mediums. Is he going to get that major undercut? Because it is going to be a case of people will start pitting within the next couple of laps. Maybe stretch those mediums, have the pace at the start of the stint and defend for your life at the end. if that safety car doesn't come out, which with the quality of racing we're seeing today, I don't think there's much of a chance for that. But just as I say it, there's a yellow flag. That's
Yeah, Victor Mean having a little bit of a spin. Nothing too outrageous, though, keeping well clear of the walls. I think we've only really seen a solitary car into the walls, that being Spider Rob. Judging by the sort of pit stops as well, there's not been too many. Tofar made a pit stop as well 2 laps ago. I'm missing everything tonight when it comes to the pit stops. The white and yellow circles not doing much for my mind, it seems, this evening. I'm normally pretty good at keeping track of that. Just a little comment back to Steiny. Yeah, somebody's got to do your job, mate. And I don't class myself as a native English speaker. I'm a native Scots speaker. I say like words like I and Okai and Octanur and Uktarmukti.
well, what you're saying is you try your best.
Exactly. I'm doing my best. We're not all goated commentators like Mr. Rotation and Mr. Evans and Mr. Hedgehog. Some of us are just humble Scotsmen, waffling for a living on a Monday night, purely for your entertainment. Because if you can't laugh with me, at least you'll laugh at me.
I tell you.
Oh, don't you and I both, mate. Don't you and I both. Main man Moody then closing in on the rear of the Maverick. This battle for P7 heating up a little bit here. Of course, the Mistral Straight coming up pretty soon. We all know what that means. The ERS for the Mercedes. He has got a little bit of danger in his wing mirror though. Curley and Murphy on a nice little recovery drive despite that spin early doors. He finds himself in P10. Of course, a couple of cars have pit in front, but he's within touching distance of a couple more. Moody then using the last of his battery, and I think he's used it all a little bit too early, missing out getting to the apex early ahead of somebody. It's Curley who's facing the wrong way.
Curley. I think it's Murphy and Curley. We were just speaking about them, and unfortunately I think they had a bit of contact with each other and that was it. So yeah, Murphy letting drivers through now. I'm not sure I think that's going to be the end of his race.
I think so.
We're going to see a Murphy in the pits retirement thing now. Or did he slow down to let Curley through? Because maybe it was his fault.
Perhaps, yeah. I mean, I'm looking at that McLaren. There's not much in the way of wing damage on it, unless it is, the very, very light orange or light yellow, we should say, where it is visible for the driver and not for us. No, he does stay out, so nothing too untoward.
Yeah, maybe just slowing him down. But this is what we need to look out for, I think, Scott. You've got that Roland coming out the main straight just behind Tomo Tip-Top, who was in the lead of this race.
Absolutely, Tomo Tip-Top was in the lead. That Roland getting a nice undercut, and of course he's going to have warm 2-lap old hards versus the fresh but pretty cold hards on Tomo Tip-Top. Of course, Tomo's going to have a little bit extra life in the tyres. He's going to be starting this stint, of course, with a little bit less fuel, which means the overall tyre wear will be a little bit less, which means the pace average, say, per lap will be slightly higher. But he has lost out a lot of that time that he may hope to gain later in the race in the undercut. And in fact, he might have lost the provisional race lead here as Dat Roland goes for a move down the inside into the dual chicane and makes it look easy, getting the move done ahead of Tomo Tip-Top. That just shows you as well, not just the undercut, but the power of warm tyres versus lukewarm, the cold tyres. Dat Roland just finding that little bit extra grip, particularly at the midpoint of the corner. Provisional race lead once again, despite starting in pole, dropping to P20.
Yeah, the one I'm keeping my eye on, we've got SUFC, who is in that fight now for that lead. He's got quite a clear gap at the front, and it is getting bigger. Is he potentially pushing, because he knows that the undercut is strong round here, as we've just seen with that Roland. Does he know that there is a chance of that Roland coming out, or him coming up behind him? Does he push and risk using that ERS now, or does he save it for the battle later on in the race?
Of course, you will regain a little bit in the pits as Mean Man Moody picks up a 3-second time penalty for track limits. He will regain a little bit in the pits, and of course, SUFC starting his race, on the hard compound stint. He's going to have the much faster mediums. They'll heat up a lot quicker as well. as Spider Rob, another car, picks up a 3-second time penalty. So he's just going to have that advantage going for him. And of course, you know, he's within range of pitting now. We've seen that the cars that started on the mediums do 10 to 11 laps. That was with a burdened tank of fuel where you're battling for position because everybody's close together. The field's a little bit more spread out there. There's not the same battling. There's not the same weight. And of course, weight means your transfer of loads, your transfer of energy, which results in your tyre wear, results in a loss of performance. So there's that little balance here in starting the hards, which makes it sometimes a little bit quicker. Speaking a little bit quicker, the Maverick getting around these set of corners a little bit quicker than Mean Man Moody makes the overtake up to P6. Both of these, of course, starting on the hards, both due a pit stop pretty soon. Maverick opts against it. Mean Man Moody, or Mean Moody, I keep getting his old name instead of his new one, opts for it. So another potential undercut battle. DS Baker, we've seen him have a few little spins, and he adds to that mistakes tally with a 5-second penalty. Disaster for him, but he is also into the pits this lap and potential to undercut those around about him. The rest of the pack, though, seem to be staying out for lap 15 on the hards. Victor Mean closing into the rear of the Maverick, so he's looking to get involved in this battle, and Dat Roland not too far behind him, so traffic could maybe play into those hands and maybe give SUFC a little boost in that fight.
Yeah, this is the battle we're keeping an eye on now. We do have Curly just behind Murphy, just coming up. Is it the Mistral Straight, you said? Into the do-wheel chicken. Think he might be a bit too far back to make the move, but it is going to close him right up to the back of him. Victor Mean still right on the back of the Maverick. It looks like he's going to try and make a move. I think, yeah, he's just passed him before, which is absolutely perfect. I mean, he doesn't have to sacrifice the speed going into that turn, and that's the move done.
I know he wanted to see the turn name or turn number. Speaking of, yeah, SUFC into the pits, but with a 5-second penalty. Wuban does the same.
Oh, okay. This is getting interesting.
And suddenly, if your name is Armani or AFL, as we better know him as, a runner-up here in Tier 4 Championship, Victor Mean, another one. This pit lane catching out a lot of drivers here. He's came runner-up over a whole season. He's not had the best of races so far this season, but we know he's got the pace. And this could be a race in his making there. Two of his competitors picking up 5-second time penalties. Ben picks up one as well. They're flying out left, right and centre here, Dan, these 5-second penalties. It is, you know, quite an early pit lane. You do have to, I suppose it can maybe cut you off guard. You think you need to get around the corner. It is quite early, but you expect everybody they'll know where the line is, just trying to cut it fine. But it doesn't matter if you're 1 mile an hour or 100 mile an hour over the limit, you're getting a 5-second penalty. And several cars getting in it.
There's no room for margin. You can see how many people that affected. There weren't many with track warning penalties, but now there are penalties everywhere.
Yeah, just having a little look at the penalties as we see SUFC battle out with a Maverick. Thomas Tip-Top nearly making contact with the rear of them through the do-well chicken. Mark Wilson, Dat Roland, P12 Spider Rob, Mean Moody, Scooter Claim and Topher and Mighty Atom, all with 3-second penalties. 5 seconds then is DS Baker, as well as SUFC, those both for speeding into the pit lane. And then the 8 seconds, that's for 1 track limit and for 1 speeding, is Wuban, Victor Mean, BX37 Pro, that is it. I for some reason expected there to be more, but again, about 4 or 5 speeding into the pit penalties.
Oh, there's another one.
To make it 6. Murphy not wanting to let his division down as the admin, leading by example. Ghost Danger 1 following suit with another. I think we're up to about 7 now. We could get half the grid here with a 5-second penalty, and it's a disaster.
It is a tough pit lane. I think this is the one with there's multiple lines in the pit lane, so you never know which one to stop at. But yeah, if you brake too late, you're done. It is a different pit lane, so it's the same as last game, but I think it has changed over the last couple of games, isn't it? So
Yeah, a little bit of evolution, and if you're speaking about a track with multiple lines all over the place, I don't think any of them come to mind other than this one here. Look at that fantastic, colourful background. Black background, black back. Oh, it's all gone at Pete Tong, of course.
Almost there. Try again.
Yeah, that's it. I was trying to say the black asphalt, your normal asphalt, your blue, a more aggressive surface. This is my industry, of course. Those that know, I work in the asphalt industry, so
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
all about this. And then your reds and your whites, other kinds of. It's known as a HFS, a high friction surface. Essentially,
You know,
it slows your car
you're
down
talking
without getting
things
all
I
the
don't
gravel
know
everywhere.
technical wise, Scott, but you're also talking colours, which again, I don't know. Uh,
Yeah, it
so
must be.
I'm just going to say yes and nod is what I'm going to do. You can't see the nodding, but I promise you I'm doing it.
Yeah, it's the age-old question we asked Dan. What colour is that flag? And he just goes, "Yes, it's grey."
Yes,
And
yes.
that is it. It must be a very perplexing track for you to race on. It must be said with all these
Yeah, I just see
various
lines
colour
everywhere.
codes.
That's all it is. It's just lines.
There's a joke to be made there, but I'm going to take the high ground and not make it.
Yeah, yeah. I've already
But
dropped the F-bomb. We need to keep the age rating of the stream
keep it
down.
nice and PG. Majority of the field then have made their one and only pit stop of the night. That Roland out front, yellow flags coming out of the pit lane.
Sector one, I believe.
Spider Rob losing a position, might be him.
Yeah, yeah. Getting cars overtaken at speed, so he's just not carrying the same speed down the straight that the other cars are. SUFC getting a 3-second time penalty with that Roland right behind him. I told you, Scott, these are going to be the two to watch out for. Who was up with him? It was Tomo Tip Top, who's 5 seconds behind. But he doesn't have any penalties.
Tomo Tip Top, of course. Another one of the medium starters went a little bit longer, lost out in the undercut to Dat Roland. He's going to have a little bit more pace with this, you know, a base pace with the car and the tyre setup compared to Dat Roland with the fresher tyres. But until then, he seems to be gapping off a little bit. He does have no penalties, like you say, but Dat Roland, I believe, just had to check this 2 minutes ago. Yeah, Dat Roland is just on free. However, SUFC is speeding in the pit and a track extension is on 8. All it would take, realistically, though, another little Dat Roland extension, and Tomo Tip Top could be in the works for a race win.
The
SUFC, though,
yeah,
I think we're going to say the same thing.
You continue, sir.
I was going to say he's got the fastest lap of the race, a 33.975.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Oh yeah, on those 3-lap old mediums, you can see the gap getting bigger. You can see the difference. I don't know if you can show it on screen. You can see the difference in the amount of battery they've both got saved as well. That Roland is on 6% and SUFC is on 44. It's the management around here. If you don't use it, you're in a strong position at the end.
It's always. I'm not going to speak even as a commentator. I'm going to speak as a driver, and I'm going to ask you, and hopefully, you know, still, admittedly, we're not the quickest drivers, we're not the most knowledgeable, but I always find myself paranoid because I'm like, what if a safety car comes out and I've just been sitting here with 80%? And everybody else gets a recharge. But on the shoe on the other foot, if you get to the second to last lap and everybody's on 10%, you've got 80%. Oh, you can gain some straight
that's exactly
speed.
it. Yeah. No, I completely understand. I like sitting on about half, to 30% to 50%, because then, like you said, if a safety car does come out, you can recharge. But if it doesn't, you do still have a little bit left in the tank to sort of play with, battle with, that sort of thing.
Absolutely. It's almost like the same way we had it was a little bit less visible years gone by. You had the fuel management mode, different fuel levels and fuel modes. It's a little more a bit more. I'm turning into Leroy here. A bit more visible here this year, and it is a game of sort of cat and mouse, and almost like a big game of chicken. Curly into the pit lane for a set of softs, as is the Maverick. AFL has made the move on Tomo Tip Top. One to watch out as well. We consider, 3 seconds for Dat Roland. He's got not much in the way of battery. AFL's on 30%. He's on softer compound tyres, being on the mediums versus the hards. He's on newer age tyres that they're not only softer and quicker, they're newer, so there's more life about them. And he is penalty free, so maybe a late charge. He is within the 8 seconds to SUFC, and he's not 2.7 seconds over 7 laps. It's not a huge gap for him to conceivably close down on Dat Roland. It'll be one to watch. He has already dropped the second gap to Tomo Tip-Top Marshall. We've seen him on the podium in China. He's having a relatively quiet race, at the start, getting caught up in a few little battles with his teammates, shall we say, and a nice little recovery drive here up to P6. He's currently battling out with Mark Wilson, who I've just tried the switch to, but he's made me look a right mug by overtaking him as I tried to move down the spectating order, and Mark Wilson gets the move up to P6. Yellow flags for the mighty Atom. Disaster for my fellow National. I know he's really excited to be back on the grid full time, it must be said. I do love his energy and his enthusiasm. A disappointing race for him tonight, and all I can say to him is keep trying, mate. It's we've all been there. We all have these races. Trust me, I've had 3 weeks of what you're having right now tonight, Atom, and I'm raring to go in France. So glad to see you back full time on the grid.
I shouldn't laugh, Scott. It's just the way you said it. I know you're being sincere, but it just sounded so patronising. Just keep trying, mate. Just keep trying. Speaking of, no, we've got Dragon in the chat. Forza Cone. That's what we like to see. And Rotation is here as well, saying he's arrived, albeit a bit late. Asking how the goats are doing. We're good. I won't be modest. I am the goat. It's as simple as that.
I am. What's like the secondary goat? I'm like the sheep, I suppose. I'm not quite the goat, but I'm very, very close to being it. The kid. Scotty the kid. I like that one, Dan. That was very, very good on the fly. Topher picks up another 3-second time penalty. Tomo Tip-Top losing positions left, right, and centre. We saw him lose out to AFL a few laps ago, where he's lost out to Mark Wilson and Wuban. But he won't be worrying too much at that. Time penalties are in his favour. And the man behind him, though, Marshall. Oh my God.
Marshall. You did get it right. You got it right.
Oh, and he said Mark Marshall, then I nearly said Marsh Wilson. It's
brilliant.
Just roll with it. We're getting there. He is also penalty free behind, and a lapped car there, near enough confusing me once more. He is sitting pretty in behind Tomo Tip-Top, so this will be a battle for the final track position, of course. AFL is losing time despite being on the softer compound and with a little bit more in the ERS tank, to Dat Roland, so it's unlikely for him to get the win here. Dat Roland,
I think what he's doing now is just managing, keeping the cars behind at bay. He knows they've got penalties, but he knows he needs to stay within that 8 seconds of SUFC, which I don't think he is at the moment, is he? He needs to push a little bit harder, maybe at the end of the race, when SUFC's... Oh, Tomo is in such a good position.
On doing what's essentially 23 laps of good work all in an instance. The only plus side for Tomo is the next car down the pack, P8, Victor Mean, is 12.2 seconds behind, so it's not going to result in too much of a loss. It just more loses the positions he could have gained in the front in the form of Mark Wilson and Wuban, of course. AFL, like you say, 9.5 seconds. He needs to get that down to 8 seconds, and ideally if he can get that 6 seconds down to 3 in front of Dat Roland while he's at it, that could be the distance between a P3 and a P1. However, there's still time to go. 4 laps to be exact. Lap 24 out of 27. Still to see an appearance from Bert Maylander, and still to see a retirement. This is what I mean when I say this is a quality tier 4 grid. I think even tier 3, obviously we only seen like a little bit at the start. Tier 2 and tier 1, there would have been several retirements, either from pushing too hard or just maybe, I don't know if it's the right word, but strops in the pit. And speaking about a strop in the pit, Murphy's had one with...
Yeah, that's him gone. Just as we're talking about retirement.
I was just about to say...
There's an age joke there somewhere, Murphy, but I'm not going to make it.
I will. The old timer calling time on this race. We love
I just said the word retirement. It made me think of Murphy. Sorry, Murph.
I was going to say he was having a strop with the pit speed limit line, but it
No,
turns out he's had a
I
stroke with
think
the
it's
mechanics
just
as well.
and another week of bad luck for Murphy. We will see some good luck. I know where did he get? Was it he did get P5 in the last couple of races? Can't remember if it was last race or if it was the one before. But he has had some good luck. It's just but also mostly bad luck. It's a shame, but you know we know he'll carry on. We know he'll stick it out.
Absolutely, of
It's just
course.
what Murphy does.
He is a podium sitter in recent seasons. Podium in Hungary last season. P5, like you say, last time out in Monaco. Brazil, of course, P12, still picking up a solitary point, and a P13 in China. So hovers around the midfield, it must be said, for the most part, but that's not down to pace. That's down to just a sheer lack of luck. I wonder if he's had many lottery wins, because he's definitely using his luck elsewhere around here. It must be all his pack luck from FIFA, to be fair. He's due some bad luck. I'm sure he won't mind me saying
You
that.
know
Mark
what, Scott?
Wilson.
That's a good point.
Mark Wilson, very close to the gearbox of AFL. He's caught him up at a rapid pace. Once again, showing the pace that this man has on track. Just a little inconsistency. We saw him have a spin, a moment coming together with Trunders. And you think, you discount that time lost from that. Where could he have been in this race? Of course, he has got penalties as well, but this could be a bright side for AFL, of course. If this man in front is faster and he's closing down the gap to the guys with penalties in front, hook in behind, use that DRS, let him tow you along. Anything can happen in the next few laps, and only a few laps we have to go. Lap 25 of 27. SUFC give him a little bit of airtime here. 4.2 seconds out clear, but with 8 seconds of penalties due to speeding in the pit lane. He's just about to round the final corner and start us on this penultimate lap. Dat Roland, the man of the afternoon, it must be said, as Tomo Tip-Top has been disconnected and left the session.
No, it's not good. So I'm having a few technical difficulties at the moment. I went to Race Director, it's not letting me come back off it. So.
And speaking of technical difficulty, oh no! Tomo Tip-Top left the session, or disconnected from the session, and his AIs flung him in the pits.
Oh.
I shouldn't laugh, but that just sums up the Codemasters experience, I feel, and what the sort of range of emotions you can get in league racing. He's run a pretty solid race the whole evening, shown some good pace, and he's had one disconnect at the very wrong time of the Grand Prix, and the AI's decided, you know what, for the last 2 laps we need fresh tyres, and it spat him out in P11. If he can rejoin, he's going to have very fresh tyres to blitz around with for a lap and a half, but it's disaster for the Alfa Romeo.
So I'm just having to keep an eye on the timing boards because it won't let me back into the race screen. So it's I could leave and restart, but there is no point because we've got 1 lap left, I think. So
you're purely doing this via an app, shall we say, almost.
Pretty much, yeah. I've got the view of SUFC on my screen, and then the leaderboard on the front. That's it.
Well, I'll try and keep us all the best with the action. The closest battle at the moment, it's not really a battle, it must be said. It's Tomo Tip-Top's Ghost getting overtaken by Scooter Clem on the run down to turn number 10. The Ghost, though, doing a good battle, it must be said. Credit where credit is due, but Scooter Clem always going to win this battle in the long run. AFL has desynced a little bit from the rear of Mark Wilson, not able to take advantage of that DRS tow. Mark Wilson starting to make some inroads into Dat Roland's lead. Not safety car, yellow flags further at the back. That's one of the Alpines, I believe it is the mighty Atom. He is a lap down as things stand and having a little spin through the tricky third sector. Of course, it is a tricky track at the best of times, Dan. When you don't have a setup especially, it can be even worse. Further back on the track as well, we've got a battle between the two teammates, BX37 Pro and Ghost Angel 1 for P15, both on medium tyres, both on 8 to 9 lap old, or 9 to 10 lap old tyres, it should be said now as they cross the line. And the two of them getting a little swap of positions, almost making contact as well into turn 1, but not quite coming together. Curley is on the rear of Maverick, 2 other drivers that we see up near the front until being forced onto a later pit stop onto the softs, sort of drop them down. You lose so much time from pitting, of course. It's sort of played a little bit of disaster on their race towards the end. But of course, points for 12 positions. Crawley doesn't have any pens. He's 0.3, sorry, behind the Maverick, who's 2.1 behind Tomo Tip-Top's Ghost, who's in P12, and it could be very close. As that was happening, we finished the race.
I was
Never
about
even
to
noticed
say,
they were on the last lap.
SUFC has crossed the line.
I just passed up when they got the line. SUFC crosses the line, finishes 13 thousandths ahead of Dat Roland. AFL takes the final spot on the podium. Marshall up there in P4 ahead of Mark Wilson P5, Wuban P6. Victor Mean crosses P7. Look at all these unserved penalties. Of course, they were already in the repertoire, just getting applied because they hadn't served them in the pits. Trunders comes across the line and jumps up to P7. DS Baker, his debut season, picks up a solid P9. Moody from last on the grid in the sprint race, getting up near into top 8 and then having a little bit of a disaster in the feature race in comparison. Finishes P10 ahead of Scooter Claim. Curly, Tomo Tip-Top's Ghost finishes P13. Curly, of course, the last of the points finishers. The Maverick P14. Ghost Angel 1 P15 ahead of his teammate BX37 Pro. Spider Rob will come home in P17 with Topher, and then the Mighty Atom rounding off the grid. Murphy, our only non-finisher.
All I'm saying, Scott, is do you want the lottery numbers as well, or?
I will take
just
them.
saying.
You got that spot on, it must be said, mate. Absolutely down to a T. Fair play. And our championship leader, provisionally at least, of course, provisional standards before stewarding, but my honest opinion, we didn't see too much.
No, I think there may have been one or two. No major incidents. No, I think that's pretty much as clean a race, sort of, not in terms of staying on track, but race wise, that I've seen for quite or commentated on. I know when I usually commentate, there were quite a few incidents, and I have to keep up with quite a lot. But this time it was just good vibes.
Absolutely perfect vibes tonight. It's I think it's sort of a race that summarises up this season. It's been a quite high standard of quality and racecraft, and also some of the Grand Prix that just, there's so much action going on, but they just pass you by. They just fly by because there is no real stoppages, there is no real endpoints. And again, tonight, another race without a safety car. That is, of course, the combined results we're looking at. We'll get you the feature race results here as SUFC from P10 on the grid, taking the victory. Dat Roland, of course, started in pole position, opted to pull to the side, dropped down to P20 and made it all the way back up to P number 2. AFL in P3 rounds off the podium. Marshall, Mark Wilson, Wuban, Trunders, Victor Mean, DS Baker and Mean Moody round off your top 10, with Scooter Claim and Curly picking up the last of the points. Tomo Tip-Top, the Maverick, Ghost Angel 1, BX37 Pro, Spider October and Mighty Atom round off your finishers. Murphy, once again, like we said before, the only DNF, and Topher in P18 does pick up the fastest lap, but because of that will not pick up a bonus point in the championship. Shall we see then if any of our top 3 want a quick little chat with...
Let's do it. I was about to ask you, Scott, who your driver... Obviously, we don't get to vote, but who would your driver of the day be?
I think there is only one man I can go for. It's got to be SUFC. You know, he had a poor... He had a good sprint... not sprint qualifying, one shot qualifying, a poor, unfortunate sprint race, and then pulled it all together for the big points finish for P1 and the big 30 points to extend his lead at the top. P10 to P1 in any race is nothing to be scoffed at, but around a track like this, where penalties, which we've seen, can come into big consideration, and incidents and spins can come into everything, to keep your cool for the 27 laps, to keep it going in the straight line, and, you know, he won the race by 13 tenths. And he did pick up 8 seconds of penalties while doing so. So a pretty good drive from him.
That's completely fair enough. I'm going to go for a bit of a strange one for my personal one. I'm going. It's not Mean Man Moody now, is it? It's just Mean Moody.
If I am
Started
Moody, yeah.
started 20th after one shot quali, and and finished, what was it, P10 in the end, P9. For someone who tends to just go under the radar a lot in races and everything, you know, it's he's done well to get himself up there and get some points, which is so I love to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. P20 in the one-shot quali, P8 at the end of the sprint race, missing out just very, very slightly on the points in that, and then, like you say, coming home, I think it was P9, P10 in the end for points paying positions, which, like you say, like we've said, around a track like this where anything can happen, it's never a guarantee. So another solid drive. It is hard sometimes these weeks to pick, you know, who did the best, because I think you know, I've said it a few times, it's a very, very good, strong grid. I think it's something, obviously me a little bit of a later addition. Something for me as a head admin, I'm quite happy to see my first season as head admin status that it's competitive grids in here and of every tier. And as a commentator, it really does fill me with a lot of pleasure seeing a tight grid where you just never know what's going to happen, but you do know that you're going to get brilliant racing.
That's exactly it. Should we get some of these boys in?
Yeah, I'm just sending out some invites to the party now. We have got a confirmation. Our Mr. P3 AFL and our Mr. P1 SUFC are down for a little chat. And do you know, I need to do
they
this.
all are.
I say,
I think that Roland said sure, so we can ask him what was going through his head.
sounds like a plan to me. Oh, it's a bother with that Roland. I always struggle to find him in the search. It is F1HL. I can never remember the abbreviation at the start. There he is. We'll get the three of them into the party. And Dan, I don't normally do this with Lee, because Lee normally just gets shunned to the co-commentator's position. I need to give him a chance to conduct interviews. It's your one maybe appearance for the next 4 seasons, knowing how sparse you make these appearances. But when you do, they are brilliant.
Well, I had fun, so I might make it a more regular occurrence. You know, so.
Get that
right. No, that's fine, Scott. You crack on, and I might have some follow-up questions. That's absolutely fine, sir.
Good, because I normally ask the same questions and cover all bases. But I normally, you know, everybody knows me. Normally, I like to have a beverage of some sort during this race, and this beverage is going down rather well. I was going to make a nice pie, cottage pie to be exact, tomorrow. I think I might.
No, it's definitely better being in a glass. Don't worry about it.
I might need to go get more, but it is Mr. P2 is the first to join us. We'll just crack on. Mr. Dat Roland, he's been around for a number of seasons. He's raced in a number of tiers. He's stuck it on pole for the one shot. He stuck it on pole at the end of the sprint race, and then he went for an alternative strategy. So I think the big question is, Roland, if you're here and can hear us all right.
Yep.
I take it that was a choice decision. You wanted a challenge tonight, starting from pole, drop down to P20 and have some fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to be back. I mean, it's been a long time since I was here. Maybe season 6 was the last time.
I was going to say it's been 2 seasons. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I just had to, you know, focus on myself and stuff and improve, of course. But yeah, I was really looking forward to this one because I really like this track, and it's quite an easy one as well. And as I saw from the qualifying, I came first, and I was surprised, like, because I knew everybody else was really good. So that came as a surprise, and then the sprint race came, and I finished up like 10 seconds in front of who came first in the sprint race? I don't remember.
I thought you came first in the sprint race.
Yeah. The second. sorry, second.
Second was good question.
Tomo.
It was
Okay.
it was
yeah,
Tomo.
yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, so I finished 10 seconds in front of him, so I thought maybe I'll let the guys go at it, you know, and just back off.
As humble as that is, Roland, you were racing for Aston Martin tonight, who's my team, so I'm fuming with you.
I'm sorry.
You got us P2 anyway, so it's okay. I'll forgive you slightly.
Yeah. Slightly. I wanted to keep it within that 5 seconds, but I just couldn't.
I hate the two that run. Yeah, Dan doesn't see this as you getting P2 and 24 points gained. He sees this as you losing P1 and 6 points lost. But yeah, a tremendous drive. It is almost. I maybe shouldn't say it. You would have been my driver of the day, but I think you're so clear of the grid. I might be petitioning to get you out of this grid and up to Josh and the boys in tier 3. You never know. We'll maybe see with that. I'm not going to make any rash comments on that, but yeah. Tremendous drive, good to have you back, and I suppose if you were to race, obviously we know you're a reserve this season. We do know, of course, there is as well a full-time seat going in tier 4. So if you were to race for the rest of the season, is there any tracks that you'd want to race in particular? I suppose it's a bit more personal question. It's not really a race question. It's just what's your favourite tracks?
Obviously, my home track, Hungary.
I think that is
for me.
I think that is a very unique position as well. I don't think we've got many. You might have actually be our only Hungarian driver, and I don't think we've had that many. So it is a strange one to have. I know that sounds a bit weird. The strange one to have is your home Grand Prix is Hungary. I must admit, it's a personal favourite of mine. It's like a street circuit without the street, just with how tight and technical the walls are. And I suppose my only other question for tonight is, did you get your setup?
No, I didn't actually have a setup. I went with the Preset 4, like the default one, so I just went with that. Like as I said, I didn't really hope for anything because I thought I was gonna be stuck behind the guys all this time. But like, this is tier 4, so I might be a little bit too fast for the guys. I agree.
We'll wait and see with that. I'm just trying to add SUFC again. I thought I added them to the party, but for some reason doesn't seem to. I normally let Lee do this, but I thought I'll better do it tonight because I don't know if you've got the guys. But yeah, terrific drive from yourself, that rolling tonight. Well deserved P2. Could have been a P1 definitely, but a nice tight margin is always brilliant to see. We'll move on then very quickly, to Mr. P3 or Mr. P7. I've known him as for a few other occasions. It is of course AFL, a runner-up here in Tier 4 in Cone Racing League. Good to see you back on the podium, my friend. I must admit, we've spoke a few times in the past, and it's good to have you back up here.
Yeah, thank you. I'm very happy with the podium. Wasn't expecting it, to be fair. I didn't have great pace, but I just tried to keep a clean race as I could. But yeah, very happy with the podium. That's all I can say, really. I wasn't expecting it, so it's a bit of a shock, but the top two were just too quick for me today.
Yeah, I mean, no disrespect, of course. I mean, but we've seen that with you, of course, being on the fresher mediums, and it just looked as if you couldn't quite pull in the gap to that. We thought maybe with the penalties it could be an outside chance of a win, but it did just seem as if SUFC and that Roland were in a sort of league of their own. Previous results, so of course P6 last time out in Brazil, it was a DNF, P17 and then P10 in China. So your best result of the season so far. You've been up in the championship fight before. It's going to be a little bit of a comeback, but 4 rounds in out of 16, that's nothing. Are we going to see a little bit of the Season 5 AFL coming out, maybe challenging with the likes of SUFC in the long run here, or is your aim a little bit more modest this season?
Obviously I want to be challenging for the title. I think we all do in Tier 4. There's nobody here that's not going to want to challenge for the title. I think I'm getting stronger week on week. So I'll just see what happens. But yeah, I'm just going to put in my all to get back up into the title fight and take it from there.
Absolutely love that. And I suppose my last question before I hand you over for Dan, similar to what I asked at Roland, looking at the calendar ahead, we've got Monza, Zandvoort, Baku, Portimao, Kota, Hungary, Budapest, Bahrain, Singapore, Austria, Mexico, Saudi Arabia and Belgium. Out of those tracks, which are you most looking forward to?
I'm going to say Belgium. Well, my favourite circuit, so I'm looking forward to that one.
What a circuit!
I know it's the last race of the season, but
yeah, about to say what a circuit to have your favourite, the last race of the season finale. If you are in the title fight, that could be what a way to finish it off with a win at your favourite circuit, crossing the line to take the championship.
100%.
No, last I can say is congratulations back on the podium once again, mate. And Dan, anything for our good friend?
Cheers,
Dave?
mate.
Nothing from me. No, just another congratulations. You know, we've seen you put the work in, so I'm buzzing you on a podium, mate. It's what we'd like to see.
Cheers,
That's
mate, thank
all
you.
I have to say.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Love that. Finally got him invited. SUFC, sorry, I invited the wrong SUFC to the party. It seems
stood up for a
there's
sec.
two yous with very similar names, and the imposter getting the better of me, shall we say. But another solid result for you, of course. Deluxy moves up to tier 3. You went into this race as championship leader. That must be a great feeling, going in as championship leader and coming out as race winner.
Yeah, I'm glad he moved up, not gonna lie. Because,
It could be you next.
yeah, I think it might be. I might have to slow down a little bit, to be honest. But no, that was a tough race, to be fair. I started like the race in P10, so, and then at the end I was trying to get that 5 seconds like so badly. I just managed to do it, so.
Yeah, it was something that I was keeping an eye on. Did you sort of feel like you had it in the bag, or was it something you had to sort of really push for?
No, I was really, when it got to like the last sort of 3 laps and it was still only sort of like 3 seconds, I was like, oh god, and I pretty much put in like qualifying laps in like the last 3 and I literally just got it in time, so.
We did see, of course, your ERS management was pretty good throughout the race. That had a big impact on that. But yeah, like you say, 13,000, 0.013, the difference between P1 and P2 here tonight. For me, SUFC driver of the day, just purely based on that alone. Drive from P10 in the feature race to P1, a solid drive. You're up there, of course, in the short quali and the sprint race for the most part. And yeah, I suppose in a sort of a teammate point of view, you know, you're up there, potential 1-2 at one point. That must have been quite buzzing. I don't know what the atmosphere is like in some of the other teams. Ferrari, it's absolutely crazy. Big shout out to the boys in that. It's a great atmosphere. I can imagine there'd be a little bit of team buzz around that when you saw that in the early stages of this Grand Prix. Unfortunately, Tomo Tip Top having a few issues not to come to be, but maybe one we'll see later on. I suppose then a big question for you, Monza next week. You're going to go into that race once again, championship lead. And the man to watch, now there's a little pressure that comes with that. How are you going to deal with not just the pressure of that, but the pressure and the challenge that Monza can throw up?
I think, like, from sort of last season, I've improved quite a lot on sort of, I don't know why, but last season I used to get like really nervous. But now I've sort of like calmed down a little bit and I've sort of cut out the silly mistakes that I'm sort of used to do. I remember in Monza last season I was fighting for like the win, and then I ended up spinning out on like a stupid corner, and I was really disappointed in myself. So hopefully I can cut that out for next week and get another win. But it's surviving turn 1, that's the issue, isn't it?
Absolutely, we have, of course, veterans of the CRL community. Dat Rollins, you might be the only one, aside from me and Dan, that'll know this. The Jack DNF moment, of course, lives down in infamy. Turn 1 at a Monza, so it can be a little bit of wrecking ball. I've not got much in the weather questions, but I'm going to throw a funny one for you this way because I'm feeling that kind of mood tonight. Who do you think is going to do better on first tonight, me or Dan?
Definitely you.
Oh, I love that.
That's a bold call.
That's definitely, if you're a betting man, you wouldn't pick that option. But I thank you for the confidence. Yeah,
I'll go for the outside odds.
Well, that's
fine. No, it's fine. That's how it is. I just called you to win this race and you won it. So no, I mean,
thank you. I appreciate that.
I won't ever do it again. I'll see how it is.
Well, apparently it's good luck, so you can keep doing it if you like.
Well, that's it. The last 3 times I've called someone to win the race, it's happened. I mean, you just now. The last 2 times I've said it have been in tier 2 with Farrell winning the race. So it's, you know, I might just say I'm winning it this week.
Spins out turn 1.
There's more chance of me winning it, Dan, I'll be honest. But your precognition, your Mystic Dan capabilities coming through once again. But no, thank you, the 3 for joining us. I think this is the first time this season we've actually had the top 3 all join us So thank you all for joining us for a chat. Congratulations on the results, and AFL and SUFC full-time drivers, of course. I look forward to hopefully seeing you both at Monza. Dark Roland in as reserve. I'm sure we'll see you once again this season. It might not be in Tier 4.
You will see me. You will.
Oh, well, that's what we love to hear, mate.
If I get called up again, that's...
Oh, definitely.
Depends.
Love to hear that, of course. Reserve's a big part of the league. A big, tremendous part. And, there's always full-time seats going, so you never know. We could see you on a more permanent basis. But, yeah, once again, congratulations and thank you to all three of you. Dan, anything to add before
No, nothing from me. No. Congratulations, boys. We will see you next week.
Thank you very much, guys.
Cheers, lads. Thank you.
See you in a bit.
Well then, thank yous everybody then down in the comments for joining us once again. A little change in the co-commentator, but no change in the action and the excitement. Make sure to check in on Thursday night. Like we've said a few times, we've hinted at Tier 2, Tier 1 making to the streets of France. Not the streets of France, the circuits of France, it should be said, on Thursday night. 7:30 PM. I believe it'll be Jonathan and his co-commentator. It could either be Bunnies, it could be Fandango. I'm not too sure, but it'll definitely be Jonathan in the lead comms. Make sure to join him at 7:30. You get to see me and Dan racing it out on this very circuit in this very same format as you saw it tonight. Give it lots of love. And then 8:30, the big boys, the creme de la creme of CRL racing. It is, of course, Tier 1. Tier 3 happened a little bit earlier on in the night. If you missed that, give that a little bit of watch. And, of course, if you joined us halfway through and you missed some of the action, give me and Dan a little watch back through. But in the meantime, you can catch me and potentially Lee, potentially Dan, who knows. The ever-winding circle of commentators could continue like it did a few seasons ago, but a little bit more settled this season, Dan. You might be just called back to standby duty, but I've got to say, for the last reserve, it's pretty good.
I'm happy to be on standby whenever. If I'm free, I'll always hop in. Sometimes I do like just, as we all know, just taking the back seat and things and monitoring from afar. but always happy to jump in.
You could almost say you're CRL's mascot, the ever-present silent man.
Sure, let's go with that.
But yeah. Once again, thank you for joining us tonight. Make sure to join us next week, same time, same place, CRL YouTube channel, 8:15 PM GMT. I've been your host, CRL Freefall, joined by the very, very wonderful CRL DC, and we will catch you all next week. Have a wonderful rest of your evening and a wonderful rest of your week. Good night.